Good day, Rise listeners. We're back again with another episode. And today we have a special guest by the name of Imrah Dramat. I come a long way with Imrah, having met her at UWC. She is also from the great university where I come from as well. And please do subscribe, like, and also share this podcast. Your support means a lot in terms of us doing more content and reaching bigger audiences. But other than that, Imra, thank you for coming to the podcast today. I know that we've been postponing and doing all things, during the way. But as an introduction, could you please do introduce yourself to the listeners?
Sure. Well, it's morning right now when we're recording this, so good
Yeah,
morning.
yeah,
Thank you, Sinana, for having me. We do come a long way. I don't know if you want to speak about how we met each other, but I know Sinana from the time he was an undergrad student to right now. When I was working at the University of the Western Cape, where I still work in some way, I want to say that I mentored him a little bit because we work together in that space.
yeah,
But I'm really excited for today's podcast. Thank you again for having me.
yeah. Just to give a bit of background, I met Imra in 2020, beginning 2023, and we were part of a program by UWC Career Services, which was the first year, forgot the actual name, but it was an orientation program for first years, and we were trained by her and other, people that were part of that unit at the time, in how to deal with, students and how to deal with student concerns and how to actually onboard um, UWC students into the institution. And yeah, that was a great experience. And, one learned a lot just about, admin, how to, deal with different people and stuff. So yeah, it was a great time. Used to get stipends for that. Yes.
And it was
Cool.
only over 2 weeks that we worked together officially.
Sorry?
It was only over 2 weeks that we worked together officially.
Yeah, it was two
The
weeks.
the training week and then the actual orientation week.
Yeah, it was quite great because I mean we had a stipend, we had free lunch, we had uh what else did we have?
A dance that you had to learn.
A dance we had to
Remember
learn.
that?
Yeah, that was really cool. I'm not a dancer myself, but that was, quite interesting. And doing it and stuff. And the people that were part of my group, they've now, I think they have a year left of law studies, and I've somehow
Oh.
maintained contact with, most of them. So it's quite cool because like you then I I really took that program seriously because for me, my the person who was also my facilitator had taken it very seriously. It was a guy called Gulam
Mm.
Bakala. I don't know if you know him. So like he left a very great impact, that informed how I approached my studies, how I approached UWC moving forward from that orientation program. So it was quite cool, and I still maintain some contact with them. I was sad to hear that one of the guys who were part of my group had passed on, for instance, I think. Yeah, in the last year. But other than that, yeah, it was a great time. It was a great time. And could you tell us of your journey, really? Who is Imra and what is she into?
Okay. Well, currently I still work at the University of the Western Cape, but I'll start at the beginning of my career journey. Well, actually, I'll start when I started at UWC, which was in 2018. I was in my first year. My undergrad degree was a Bachelor of Arts, and I majored in industrial psychology and political studies. For the longest time, I thought I was going to go into political studies. I was quite interested in that, but I did a module in my second year, and then in my final year again. The module in second year was career psychology, and then the module in final year was training and development, right? Ended up doing my honors in industrial psychology. My final year of undergrad was in 2020. So majority of it was online. My first graduation was online when my name was just read across the screen. I didn't go in or anything or walk across the stage. And then I did honors in 2021 in industrial psychology. Also at UWC, the entire program was online, but luckily I was able to graduate in person. COVID restrictions were lifted then. And then in 2022, I was going to do my master's, but then I also got an internship at UWC Career Services, which at the time was actually known as UWC's Office of Student Development. So I was or OSD, we would call it. I was the OSD intern at the time. Um, and I decided to not do my master's in 2022 because I just wanted to gain working experience first, because it was my first working experience outside of being an academic tutor, because I used to tutor for the Department of Industrial Psychology as well. 2022, I was the OSD intern. It was supposed to be a 12-month contract. I was never actually supposed to meet Sinalo. I think I may have interviewed you for the PF interviews. I can't even remember in 2022. And I don't,
Yes,
I think,
you
yeah,
were
for the
part
peer
of the panel.
facilitator. Yeah, we did panel interviews with students that we were going to hire as peer facilitators. They had to answer a bunch of questions randomly. Do you remember we gave you like the random topics like your morning routine and stuff like that. You just had to answer on the spot like that.
Yes, those interviews were my first interviews where we were interviewed in a group setting
Mm,
with other candidates. And I understood why. I mean, there are many applicants for being a facilitator. And I tried preparing myself for it, but I was like, there's nothing much I can do. One just needs to be themselves in that setting. You can't really do much, otherwise you're gonna act out of
mm,
character, because you still need to function amongst these people who you find themselves in the same room with, you know. And
yeah, and
I usually get that question a lot from other upcoming, I'll say, aspiring professionals, people who are going to corporate right now. Um, I think recruitment people are taking on that format of interviews more because how you engage with other people is very important. You're not an island. So they take that on more. And many people, like even from UWC that I've spoken to who have asked for my, insight or advice on how to handle themselves during an interview. I always tell them that be yourself,
yeah.
that has worked for me. And talking about the interview you're referring to, yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah, there was a lot of students' first interviews as well, because you remember you could be going into second year to come and apply to be a PF as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of students were nervous, they didn't know what to expect, they didn't know how to prepare. But what we looked for was students that were being themselves, exactly what you said. So that's good advice you're giving to people as well. Um, yeah, so that was 2022. It was supposed to be a 12-month contract. I then came back the next year. They asked me to come back in a different position. This was all on contract. I was in the position of an administrative assistant, so I would help them. I was the communications and administrative assistant, meaning that I was handling all of our social media, as well as communications that went out to students, PFs, during the orientation period, for the Career Expo, which we'll talk about a bit later, to recruiters, to other companies when if they wanted to come to UWC because we had a program called the Graduate GRP. I can't even remember what it stands for. I hope that nobody from Career Services listens to this. Graduate Recruitment Project. Where
Yeah.
companies would come to campus. I'd be dealing with the logistics for that. And then again, it was also only supposed to be 12 months. And then 2024, they said, can you come back for the last time? And I said, okay, definitely. I needed a job. In 2023, when I came back after being an intern, we were now career services. And I started my master's coursework, which was one of the most difficult times I've been through because I'd be at work from about just before 8 in the morning. I'd have classes in the evening. So it would all be in person at this point. I would leave UWC's campus at around maybe like 8. And then I'd drop a friend at home also. So I'd get home around 9. And that is about 3 days of the week that this would happen. Yeah, so that was difficult. Doing the coursework was difficult. And then last year I started with my thesis, the submission of my research proposal and everything, and I'm still busy with it currently. Um, yeah, but now I no longer work at UWC Career Services. This year I started a new position as a facilitator at the Center for Student Support Services in the Office for Academic Skills. So my job now is that of a facilitator and an academic coach. So I do one-on-one academic coaching sessions with students, as well as facilitate workshops and classes for our graduate development program. So the GDP program is embedded into certain first-year programs, not all at the moment. We don't have enough facilitators. Maybe we will at some point.
Yeah.
But what we do in this class is it's a year-long module that these first years do. And we teach it. We facilitate classes on time management, goal setting, emotional intelligence, anything that's going to help them thrive in the workplace. Um, First as university students and then as well as in the workplace. We also do workshops. Certain faculties may contact us for workshops, maybe different sporting codes want to contact us for workshops. We facilitate that as well. And then I also assist in facilitating the usage of a new tool that our office is actually launching Monday. Well, the 14th of May. I'm not sure when this podcast will be released, but yes, the 14th of May, not
Okay.
May, April. It's called the Student Success Thermometer. It's a self-assessment tool students can take. They answer a bunch of questions. It takes about 7 minutes, and it helps them decide which, or shows them which studiousness level they are on regarding things such as critical thinking, future and career planning, academic communication, academic writing. They're able to see, click on it, and they're able to see what's called enablers or its campus, its resources that are able to help them improve on those particular skills. And then, of course, they can also book for academic coaching with us, where we go through it with them and help them with whatever is what they feel is maybe not is affecting them
Yeah.
academically or the academic life. So yeah, that's my job currently, plus doing masters.
That's just,
I think I should also just note that UWC Career Services as well as the Center for Student Support Services is all part of student support. So it's part of the division at UWC called SDS or the Student Development and Support Division. We are about 6 different departments that are part of it, including residential services, financial aid, the campus clinic, um, CSSS, so Center for Student Support Services. Within us, we've got Office for Students with Disabilities, Therapeutic Services, the Student Leadership Academy, and then the Office for Academic Skills. I may be missing others in SDS.
yeah, I
So yeah,
think I don't know anymore because I think they underwent restructuring recently. Um, the departments you're referring to under SDS, or are they
no,
still the
what do you mean?
same?
No, they are
Like
still the same from when you were there.
from okay,
Yeah, they are
okay,
still the same. It's just the way I work now in CSSS, we've got various offices within CSSS.
oh, okay,
So yeah, so my office is within CSSS, but CSSS is the department that's part of SDS, if that makes sense.
I understand, I understand.
Yeah.
And yeah, I used to work for C as well at a point.
Oh, you're a student
Uh,
assistant.
yes, as a student assistant in, I think, 2021.
Okay.
So I want to know, like, people always complain about this. The I don't want to say a balance, but
Mm-hmm.
managing, having a full-time job and studying at the same time and having to do coursework as you had to go through. I also did that.
Mm-hmm.
What I know that it discourages many people out there to actually take on studies while they're working.
Yeah.
But what could you say to someone who, really wants to study further, but because they are working and they have a full-time job, they kind of discouraged by that.
Look, I think the first thing to accept is even before you start working, university is not easy. Studying is not easy. Whatever degree you end up doing, your brain is pushed in so many ways. Your thinking is pushed in so many ways. So it's really difficult. You've got to learn to adjust to so many things. But it's very possible. It is possible to be able to do working and studying. I think the biggest tip I would give is well, actually two tips would be to accept that it's going to be difficult, especially if you're doing coursework and it's at a postgraduate level, as well as working to gain experience. So you're possibly working in your field. It is going to be difficult. But the first thing is to accept that there's going to have to be times where you're going to have to sacrifice something. Something's got to give at some point for you to
Yeah.
be able to push through that 1 year. Because usually coursework is 1 year, right? And attending classes is you know yourself, classes go by, or the semester goes by quicker than you think also.
So,
And then the second thing is time management helped me so much. Look, I was at an advantage because I worked at the university that I studied at. So to go to class was just to either walk over if it was sunny, to go from my office to the EMS building, or to drive over because they gave me parking there. It was easier in that way, but still it was draining because I'd be at work all day. I was student facing in both of my jobs, this one as well as my previous job, and then to have to go and participate in classes because now you're at a postgraduate level. Lecturers want you to participate and engage in class, and the classes are smaller also. So to balance working and studying is difficult, but a schedule helped me a lot, and time blocking helped me a lot. And also just managing my energy in the sense that I know when I work best. If I'm at work all day and I've got to go to class, there's no way I can work when I get home at night because I don't live close to campus. I live on the other side of Cape Town. So to come home and then tell myself, okay, I need to study or go over this or work on this assignment was just not going to work out. So what I would do is I'd work earlier in the morning because I'm a morning person. And a lot of the work would have to be done on the weekend as well. Still now while doing my thesis, it I'll stay after work now. I've got my own space now at work, so I'll stay after work, work on my thesis, come home a bit later, but then I don't do anything else in the evening. Another thing is to schedule in breaks or time for yourself. If you have one
let's,
day a week that you don't work, it's fine. It's one day. That's for you to catch up with your parents, your significant other, your siblings, your friends, whoever you want to catch up with yourself, to go to the gym, to just be with yourself, because otherwise you're going to go insane if
yeah.
every single day you're just doing work and studying and work and studying, and that's going to become a cycle. We become burnt out. So I would advise before going into masters, work on your time management, not even just masters, working and studying. Work on your time management. Follow a schedule, get a watch. A watch helped me a lot to actually keep track of my time. Just because as a human, sometimes we're just slow when we get distracted. We've all got these devices that keep us distracted all the time, and we need to be honest with ourselves. But if you're able to manage your time and manage yourself, it is something that's possible. There are going to be days where there's a week or a couple of days in a row where it's like a late night, you have to stay up, or you
Yeah.
can't go to your friends or meet up with your friends that particular weekend, or you miss a family function because you're busy writing and working on something, you can only come later. But if you're able to manage your time, you're able to fit in small bits and say, okay, maybe I can go to this family function for about an hour, come back home and work on the rest of my assignment. Or, okay, I'm not going to work on Friday night, but Saturday morning I'll wake up early and go to the gym so I can start my day off like that, work on it, work on some assignments, finish it, submit it, and then Sunday I can chill, I can meet up with some friends. It's all about finding the balance in your life to be able to do that because otherwise you're going to go insane.
Same,
But it's
yeah.
also to accept that there's really are going to be some days where you will have to sacrifice. You can't go to the gym. You've got to finish this assignment that's due because the fact of the matter is if you're working, your entire day is taken up. It's from more than likely 8:30 or 9 until 4:30 or 5, which is a large part of your day. In the time, you've also got to try and build relationships with your colleagues, with clients, depending on which field you're in, or with students in my case, you've got to focus on all of that too. And it's difficult to fit in your studies in your lunch break when you just really want to eat something because you haven't eaten since breakfast time.
Yeah. You still need
So yeah, that's
a work life,
yeah,
essentially, yeah. Hmm. And
yeah, it's difficult,
yeah,
but
it
it's
is difficult.
possible.
And you spoke about studying during COVID.
Mm,
There is, I don't know, I find a lot of my growth happened during that time because
yeah.
whilst you were doing your final year, I was doing my first year.
Mm,
In during the COVID time. And studying without any supervision, without anyone holding you accountable, without any community as like
mm,
friends, a library, just being at home, on at a desk and trying to push studies. It had a great mental toll,
mm,
and it was a time of great resilience and discipline to a point where a lot changed um, after post-COVID. I mean,
mm,
you would feel as though, okay, you don't have to go to class. You can do this by yourself and things like that. Since you deal with students, that is obviously done now. People are full-time back to class. We're getting students who didn't experience university under COVID.
mm,
Um, what is that one thing in terms of blended learning, which we've taken up, or which has taken up the world by storm? Um, what is that one thing that, in your experience, you have witnessed and you think our generation can improve on, in as much as we have these technological advances and all this technology that is actually of benefit or we derive benefit from? What is that one thing that you think, as upcoming leaders of South Africa, we should focus on in using this energy, in using the energy and the tech that is available to us?
okay. Um, I think from my experience of studying during COVID, Um, it was not great because exactly what you're saying, the community was not there. Coming up to your final year, you think, okay, it's my last year, I'm gonna spend it with my friends. I had about a month or so, not even a term, or maybe the first term. And I wrote my first in-person test for that year. It was a Saturday because I'm part of the EMS faculty, so they just schedule things on for Saturdays.
Yeah.
And then the very next week, COVID had come. And since then, I've actually not written an in-person exam. I wrote one during my coursework in 2023, but it was open book. So I actually haven't had to memorize anything
Anything since
since
then?
then. Yeah. So, but to to answer to your question, the flip side of me now working with students that didn't go through university during COVID is that I'm working with students that went to high school during COVID. So I personally think that technology should be used to our advantage to make things easier for us. But what I'm finding is, and this is not to say anything about first years or anything, what I'm finding is sometimes people are hiding behind technology. And you were speaking about the resilience that we had to have. There's not necessarily a lot of that now with first years coming in. Um, I think a lot are a little bit scared because maybe there's been a surgence of online high schools as well in the country. So some of them are coming from that. Not, I think there's a lot more online communities now as well because of COVID, gaming communities, forums you can join, and a lot of people feel they find their comfort there. So when they come to university and they're meeting new people, it's number one, having to adjust to a much bigger place than the high school probably was. UWC's population has a lot of students that are not from Cape Town.
So,
Um, it's students that have maybe not been in person. I always ask my students when I meet first years, I said, did you possibly go to an online school? What was the transition for you? And a lot of them say, okay, they did whatever grade online because it was COVID. And they're saying that they feel like they still didn't fully transition to
yeah,
being in person.
yeah,
So the going to class, having to keep track of your time, having to answer your emails, just adjusting to university, I think is a little bit more difficult now, which is why student support is so important because we are there to help students. Um, I find time management is a very big issue, and possibly because during COVID, they didn't necessarily have to go from one place to the next. And I'll be honest with you, from when going from doing my entire first postgrad degree, my honors degree online, to doing coursework for masters and having to be in person, it was quite an adjustment too, because I didn't have to really manage my time except according to deadlines when I had to submit on Ikamba or when it was going to close or anything.
close, yes, true.
So, yeah. So I didn't really have to do any of that. And it was quite an adjustment having to now balance, okay, work that was due because sometimes because we were such a small team also in career services, um, I had to balance working very few times, thankfully, but sometimes overtime, especially during the orientation period, and then working on thesis, assignment, getting those things sorted. So that was an adjustment too. But from what I can see from students is they are trying a lot, the students that come in. They just need a bit more extra support which is why we try to offer to them as much as we can. And I do think there are some of us, of our generation, not just students that are coming in that hide behind technology, whether it's AI, not going to class because I'm just going to watch the recording, I'm just going to put this into ChatGPT. Um, Whereas it can be used, and I'm full support of using AI and video conferencing and everything in technology to your advantage, to use it for your research, to use it to explain something to you if you can't get hold of your lecturer. I always tell students this is the way you can ethically use it. If you really can't make class that day, like for example, there was a water outage in the area that UWC is in, so obviously these students were affected and those that live in Bellville. So if you couldn't make it to class that day because you couldn't shower and you couldn't make breakfast or anything, and your lecturer was kind enough to upload it online, that's fine. That's using it to help each other. But because you don't want to go to class because you'll just watch the online recording, which a lot of lecturers I believe have stopped doing also. That's shooting yourself in the foot as well. We need that human interaction too to be able to thrive, to be able to feel supported, because the screen is a block for all of us.
It definitely is. Um, you know, you raised a very interesting point about how you had to adjust being back. And, I also see the converse. During our time, in final year, the university decided that we're gonna have, in-person classes and everything
Mm,
for the year. And in as much as it was hard with being away from people, it was also hard to now integrate. At
Yes.
at times, you would be in a room full of people and you'd be so overwhelmed. And they talk about this, notion of having a social battery. So you feel like you need to go refill your social battery before you
Yeah.
start engaging with people again. So it was very, you know, interesting, and a very moving experience to have lived through, dealing with people, and yearning to be with people at the same time. Now, when you are around them,
Mm.
you can't stand a minute. You want to escape.
Yeah.
But I see you as a emerging career psychologist. I don't know if that's the correct term to use, considering all that you've been part of. And I don't want to box you either. I
Hmm.
don't know which term is applicable. But could you please explain, like, career psychology for someone who doesn't understand it? Um, I'm very passionate about this because I was given freedom at home to choose whatever I wanted to do. Whereas I also experienced, having friends who were told what to do. And for me, there's power in being given that freedom and also in making your own decisions. Um, I sometimes ask myself, is it really that early that we should make the decisions that actually, inform the rest of our lives?
Mm.
And yeah, so if you could just like please explain uh career psychology for people out there.
Okay. So career psychology, what I was able to learn about it. It's essentially it looks at why you end up doing the career that you want to, what affects it. My thesis is based in that part of industrial psychology. Um, my thesis is looking at how your personality traits as well as your family dynamics can affect the career choice self-efficacy of university students. Career choice self-efficacy being the confidence in the career that you've chosen or the course that you've chosen, the route that you've gone into. So essentially that is in a nutshell career psychology is it's looking at the different factors that may affect it, the generation you're part of, your family dynamics could be, it's very different in South Africa because in South Africa, our family dynamics include grandparents acting as guardians, older siblings acting as guardians as well. So, for example, maybe you were influenced by your older sister going to go and study. That's the only reason why you wanted to go to university. She studied law. You didn't get in for law, but you wanted to go to university just because your sister went there. So that's largely what career psychology encompasses. You said you don't want to box me. Thank you. I wouldn't necessarily only want to go into career psychology. I'm quite interested in the field, but it's also just training and development that I'm really interested in. And I
Uh,
found great reward in working in student development specifically because
yeah,
university is where your career starts. I think people forget that that's where your career starts. So I've been fortunate enough to see students through from first year to graduate as well. Um, it's been such a pleasure and such a privilege to be able to contribute somewhat, whether it was helping them with their CV, uh, helping them prep for their first interview, strategizing with them their career path. Maybe this is the option you can go to because remember we've got general degrees as well, BA, BCom, BSc, where you choose your majors. So you've got a lot of opportunities with that too, and people don't realize that they've got opportunities if they think outside of the box once they've got their degrees. You come into university not only to become a professional, but to gain skills as well.
yeah,
And if you come, Sinal, if you came to any of what we did at Career Services, any of our presentations, it was a lot about how you can use the skills that you've gained through your course, through your degree to help you market yourself as a emerging professional, which is
Yeah.
why career expos were so important as well, networking events and all of that. And I've got the privilege now to be sort of in the other side of where they're focusing, we're focusing on helping students with academic skills because you are coming to learn at university. The adjustment, like we mentioned, is difficult for some people, for a lot of people, because university is not high school. And let's also think about the students that didn't necessarily come straight after high school. What if they went
Yes.
to work first? What if they are mature students? They also need assistance in adjusting.
Yeah.
So that falls part of career psychology too, because what we do in my current department is we focus a lot on helping students plan for the future as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of students don't know what they want to do. Like I said, there are various factors that contribute as to why students come to study and why they choose what they are studying. It could be family, it could be the community that says, okay, and there's research about this, and from experience, you and I may have experienced this as people of color as well. In our communities, it's you're successful if you're going to be a doctor, you're successful if you're going to be a lawyer, an accountant, an engineer. But what about people that have other skills? Because there are students that have good skills in high school already. Maybe they're really good at English. We need to find a way to also nurture that and encourage that and show them that there is a career path with English,
Yeah.
linguistics, political studies, industrial psychology, clinical psychology,
Yeah.
um, biotechnology, whatever it is that's part of that. So my interests lie a lot in that, just shaping students to be able to figure out where they want to go and how they can get there too.
Yeah.
Because we have a massive unemployment rate in South Africa, and everyone's only always talking about there's no jobs. How do we create opportunities? It starts from recognizing people's skills, in my opinion. It starts from recognizing people's skills, nurturing it, and developing it. It should start in high school already. We should have career guidance classes in high school. Unfortunately, I don't think our life orientation curriculum, and be, I could stand under correction because I'm not an educator, and I don't work in the education department, and I was in high school a good couple of years ago. So the life orientation curriculum may not have enough focus on career guidance. It should start even when they're choosing their subjects in grade 10.
Yeah.
Try not to force your child or your sibling to take pure maths if they're failing it in grade 9. Help them find the opportunities where they can study after doing math lit or not choosing physics. Don't tell them that they have to choose physics. They got a better opportunity getting into university just because they did physics.
Physics.
And
Yeah.
then also just make sure that they know that they don't have to go to um, what we would call a big tertiary institution. There are smaller colleges as well. There are technical colleges as well. Um, there's nothing wrong with building an artisanal skill and becoming an artisan in some way, doing
Yeah.
things with your hands if you're better at that too. Um, yeah,
Sounds
a
yourself.
lot of career psychology, a lot of career psychology in South Africa is affected by our familial influences. In South Africa, we are quite a family-oriented country. Our families mean a lot to us. Making them proud means a lot to us as well. But sometimes it also creates an unnecessary amount of pressure on people too. And they don't end up always doing what they want to do.
Talking about pressure, it's something that is very prevalent, in the working space,
Mm,
especially in, I would say, Black communities, There's something called, I don't like the term Black tax.
mm,
Um, I don't believe in the term, so I just, yeah. And there's also the pressure of doing well, right?
yeah.
The pressure of imposter syndrome, feeling as though you're not good enough. And how do we navigate these pressures? We have got the guidance. some didn't. Some did things because they were simply told that maybe a certain career is rewarding financially.
Mm.
But I'd be interested to know, as you are someone who works in career guidance, everything is a journey and there's a certain destination. And for those who have crossed the line in terms of, receiving their graduation and everything, because that's one thing I realized after
Mm.
graduating. I was like, okay, this was nice, this was good. Now the real life starts.
Mhm.
Um, and and I think we don't have much, guidance with that. Or maybe it's just the fact of life, but I don't like this just dismissing things like that and saying, oh, it's just this is how it was for our parents, therefore it must be like that for us. I
Mm.
think we need to challenge it so that we can do better than, you know, the previous generations did. Um, so, like, how do you think we need to navigate these pressures? It's a subject matter that I'm very interested in, that I do a
Mm.
lot of research in. But as someone who is in this field, like, how do you think because we are very focused on the preparation, but then when the person has now since chosen the career, studied, graduated, and moving on, what do we do with that person?
Gosh, that is
A loaded
yeah,
question,
look,
sorry.
it is a loaded question, but it's okay. It's a good question. You bring up a lot of good points there. I think, like I remember I said that here in South Africa, I want to say I can only speak on communities of color because I'm one from one, right?
Yeah,
I think that black tax is a thing in Cali communities also. It's it's actually interesting. When I was at career services, a colleague of mine had written an article about black tax. I'll share the link with you. You can check it out too. But we are supposed to want to be better than the previous generation, you know. Our parents wanted us to have these opportunities because they didn't have it. There's more available to us now than back when if our parents were fortunate enough at the time to study, when they were finding jobs, etc. But the imposter syndrome, I think you're right, comes in where you realize, okay, I've done better than what my parents have done. They actually can't guide me more than this now. Where do I figure out what to do? So my sort of advice is to get as much support as you can. Um, at university, they are available for you. You did mention this is now after you've graduated and everything, but I think that if you are able to build those skills, um, and that support when you are at university by using the support services, for example, coming for academic coaching from first year, and you can stick with your academic coach right up until your final year. It's just an extra bit of support there to help you so that by the time that you leave, you feel that you are prepared. I want to say it's during your studies that you actually have to prepare for the real world. It's going to be a shock because again, it's an adjustment. There are certain things you're going to have to figure out. Maybe you've got to move away for work. Maybe you've got to live alone for the first time because that's where your job is located. Your job is far away from home. Maybe you lived with your parents while you were studying, or maybe you moved back home after living on res for the
yeah,
3, 4 years that you were studying. But
yeah,
it's during your university time that you've got to build those skills because again, you're not only coming to learn content, you're coming to learn various skills, which
yeah,
includes life skills as well. Imposter syndrome is something a friend of mine we spoke about quite a bit, especially when we started working. For me, it was difficult because I was at the university. I had to adjust from being a UWC student to being a
yeah,
UWC
you could see
staff member.
employee. Yeah,
Yes, and I was pretty young when I started working also, having to work with students that were close in age to me too. Imposter syndrome came in there and I was like, how am I going to give advice to somebody that is 2 years younger than me? 2 years ago, I was in the same position. So the way I dealt with that imposter syndrome was I had really good support I'm very fortunate to have supportive parents, number one. Um, as well as at work, I had really good support. I was able to talk to my supervisor at the time and just started look like I feel really my work supervisor. So I feel really awkward speaking to these PFs and sort of being in charge of them. I feel like an imposter because some of the PFs from the year you were there had started undergrad the same time as me. And because of COVID, people would take a break and some came back later to finish their
Yeah.
studies. So in my mind, I was overthinking it. I was like, are they actually going to take me seriously? I was in the same PF group as them. And she had told me, like, you're here for a reason. And that's something that's stuck with me right now because even adjusting to my new job, imposter syndrome. I'm no longer in the familiarity of career services. However, I'm still at UWC. I'm still part of SDS, but it's a completely new team. The work is now from the other side of what I've been used to. Am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to guide students properly? Am I only good at career guidance? So wherever you go, whichever phase of life, there's going to be imposter syndrome. But if you're able to get over it once, you're able to get over it again. Because luckily now I've also got really supportive colleagues at work, really supportive manager as well.
Mm.
So that imposter syndrome was able to go away quickly. But how do we build the support? Right? That's the question because did I just get it because I'm nice to people? Did they just want to support me because I'm nice? No,
Mm.
you've got to focus on building relationships as well. And this again, it starts during your studies, which
Yeah.
means building relationships with your tutors, with your lecturers. I've got really good relationship with my lecturers as well as the support staff at the departments.
Yeah.
I know you were able to do some of that as well yourself, working with administrators, um, as well as just building relationships with different departments. So,
Yeah.
and different societies even, you never know where you're going to find the support. And that's
True.
about putting yourself out there. But students sometimes feel a little bit scared to do that, to put themselves out there, to ask questions. And to beat imposter syndrome is to do something. So
Yeah.
get out of your comfort zone. Comfort zone for you maybe I'm scared to talk to my lecturer. Okay, start off small. Let me email them first. Let me see if I can
Yeah.
book a one-on-one consultation with them instead of just going to them after class or asking a question in class. Once you're able to build those skills and those relationships during your studies, adjusting to the working world is easier. Because let's just take our relationship scenario. We had worked together, then we just see each other on campus. But
Yeah.
you felt comfortable enough to tell me when you had gotten your candidate attorney position. When you graduated, I was so proud of you. I messaged you to say, oh, Sonala, I'm so proud to see this happen to you. I mean, your graduation was able to happen and everything. And then a year later, you were able to just message me on LinkedIn and say, how are you doing? Because we had built that small relationship.
Yeah.
And now we're here with this podcast. So it's
Yeah.
important to do that during university also.
True. Yeah, you can't operate in a shell. You need to go out there and speak to people. Sometimes I even say like networking shouldn't even be about what you're benefiting by, I'll say
Mm,
materially benefiting because then it's not genuine, but rather ask yourself, what can I learn from Imra? What can Imra learn from me? And
mm,
build that because that connection is lifelong, right? And don't burn bridges. One will argue that Snallow is in the legal sector, Imra is
mm,
in education slash um, psychology. Um, we are worlds apart, right? But actually, we are not because
mm,
we live in an interconnected world. We all need each other. So if I'm at an event and I meet this guy, and this guy is like, I'm a plumber, I need to listen to what that guy is saying.
mm-hmm,
Whatever that guy will assist me somehow, or I will have to assist them at a point. So I'm very big on not on seeing the value in everyone I come across. And part of the intention of the podcast is to not just deal with lawyers, but to deal with other professionals, in our spaces and to uplift one another and see what we can learn, and create that community. But
Mm.
as we close, what would you say to the student and also, the person stepping into the workplace? Um, yeah, like, any words of, let me not tell you what to say, actually. But what would you say to that student or, graduate employee?
To both of them, I say that they need to understand that they are meant to be where they are at the time. Whether they didn't get into the course that they initially wanted to, or they didn't get the dream job that they wanted. They maybe had to start a bit small in an internship or somewhere they could lead them to where they actually want to be, or they have to start in a different course that could lead them to where they actually want to be. Maybe they've got to finish a 3-year degree first before they can go into another degree. Do
Yeah.
it to the best of your ability because you are meant to be where you are at the time. Make the best of it because you never know who you could meet or the skills that you could develop and the version of yourself that you'd meet during that experience too. Nobody really ends up where they expect themselves to. You may end up working where you always thought you wanted to work in the career that you always thought you wanted to work, and that could be for the first 2 or 3 years, and then you decide to pivot because that's not actually where you want to be. And then you'll
Yeah.
still end up where you're meant to be. So that's what I tell both the entering university student as well as the graduate entering the workplace. Wherever you end up, it's where you're meant to be at the time.
Well, that is something to ponder on. Um, Imra, thank you for coming to the podcast and actually sharing your insights. I believe that you're doing very important work, very impactful work, work that might be underestimated at times, because, one only sees the importance of something when they have to go through it. But I believe that you're doing very important work that is actually changing people's lives because you are at the beginning of, many people's, big decision moments. And, that is, I don't think anyone forgets that person that, sits with you and discusses such points with you. So thank you for coming on the podcast. And I wish you all the best in your masters. I will stay in touch. With regards to that as well, because it's very interesting on how, you have seen that, the socioeconomic conditions of our lives influence the careers that we take, and especially the reason that South Africans are, family orientated persons, and just thinking about myself, I can relate to that as well. So thank you for coming to the podcast. Don't stop the work you're doing. It's very important work and you're thriving in it. So please keep shining. And yeah, I wish you all the best. To the listeners, please do like, subscribe, share this podcast, and yeah, spread the message. But other than that, this is Snaluma Duba Duba, and we are signing out. Thanks.